Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna dear devotees, please accept my most humble obeisances. All glory Srila Prabhupada. I hope you all are well. Welcome you all to His Holiness Chandramauli Maharaj's daily call. So we'll start the class now. Maharaj, today's verse is Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 18th chapter and verse number 46. Is it okay if I start sharing? Let me share my screen. Just give me a second.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Dharma Palo Narapatim Satu Samra Bridatstravaha Saksan Maha Bhagavato Rajasir Haya Medayat Shutrit Shrama Yutodino Navasmach Chapam Arhati. Translation. The Emperor Parikshit is a pious king. He is highly celebrated and is a first-class devotee of the personality of Godhead. He is a saint amongst royalty, and he has performed many horse sacrifices. When such a king is tired and fatigued, being stricken with hunger and thirst, he does not at all deserve to be cursed. After explaining the general codes relating to the royal position and asserting that the king can do no wrong and therefore is never to be condemned, the sage Shamika wanted to say something about Emperor Parikshit specifically. The specific qualifications of Maharaj Parikshit is summarized herein. The king even calculated, as a king only, was most celebrated as a ruler who administrated the religious principles of the royal order. In the Shastras, the duties of all castes and orders of society are prescribed. All the qualities of a Kshatriya mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita 1843 were present in the person of the emperor, who is also a great devotee of the Lord and a self-realized soul. Cursing such a king when he was tired and fatigued with hunger and thirst was not at all proper. Shamik Rishi thus admitted from all sides that Maharaj Parikshit was cursed most unjustly. Although the Brahmins were aloof from the incident, still, with the childish action of a Brahmana boy, the whole world's situation was changed. Thus, Rishi Shamika, a Brahmin, took responsibility for all deterioration of the good orders of the world. Omagyantimirandasya Ganajana Salakaya Chaksun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimakti Bhakti Veda Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Vacharine Nirvasesa Sunyavadi Astyatya De Satarine Vanchakalpa Turubhishcha Kripa Sindhupe Vacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, the glory of Maharaj Parikshit is beyond those who normally take the position of a ruler of the world. He was, in the real sense of the word, a saint who took the position as a king. With all good qualities, he administers the services of the state. He was well loved and glorified as the best of all saintly persons in relationship to his position within the Varnashram system. He had no fault, and he was powerful enough to eliminate even the influence of Kali when he first tried to enter at the very beginning of Kali Yuga. But so somehow we see it looks quite unusual. There are so many dynamics to this particular Leela that a simple Brahmin boy changed the whole situation around. And it was childish. So can we say that childish action has value in making such a big alteration in the destiny of the world in general? Well, the Brahmins are powerful. And although he was a boy, and his actions were what we say as described here, more like something a child would do, still it had effect. Because in those days, particularly, the Brahmins were the absolute power within society. The kings, very carefully, those who were Rajarsis, or those who followed the Vedic culture, were very much obedient to the Brahminical order, because Brahminical society is the foundation by which society progresses towards the goal of life. You cannot establish Brahminical society unless you have people who are qualified to lead. And these people, they know the Shastras, they teach the Shastras, they worship the Lord as their main function, and they also teach others the process of worshiping the Lord. They're not inclined to personal gain, therefore they give in charity. And because their position is simply service without any, what we say, dutiful employment, they accept charitable gifts. And the ideal here is, of course, we see Shamik Rish. Shamik Rish was sensible. Although he was his son and he had trained his son, still he understood his son was very, very, what we say, outside of the proper behavior. And he was feeling very sorry that such a curse was given to the king, who wasn't at all deserved to be cursed, as it says here, given the circumstances that he acted in. And so we see how important or how essential, you might say, it is that the Brahminical order align themselves with the principles of Brahminical culture. Nowadays, we have persons who are in name only. They're born in Brahmin families, they grow up, and they also perform various types of yajnas and sacrifices. But they're always very greedy for material gain, and many times they use their service as a way to become more and more materially affluent or successful. And we see that in today, many of these Brahmins maintain temples throughout India, but they're very greedy to get money on behalf of the deity, which they use also to maintain their family members and extensions of their families, their friends and relatives also. And they live quite luxuriously, many of them. So this is not a real Brahminic. So the downfall of the Brahminical culture is here instigated by this Brahmin boy who acted wrongly. And without Brahminical culture, you cannot progress towards God consciousness. There has to be leadership on all levels of society to guide people. People need guidance, especially those who are dependent, and they require guidance in executing their duties as a citizen and also to guide them towards the goal of life, self-realization. And without that proper guidance, the society is topsy-turvy. In other words, people take positions simply in order to facilitate personal needs. And the position becomes secondary, and their personal needs become the means by which they gain the position, either through various types of cheating, stealing, lying, nepotism, various types of wrong activities. So today we don't have any Brahminical culture. It has become so bad that about a few hundred years ago, maybe more, they made decree within the society in general that we should separate church and state. The church should not have any say in how the state is run. So in other words, they don't want any kind of religious or spiritual influence in state management. They want to engage, and therefore the Kshatriyas nowadays are not real Kshatriyas. They're just rogues in the name of leaders who are more interested in power position, and they exploit the people based on their position. So here, it's interesting to see how, not interesting, and you might say it's quite pathetic to see how such a great personality who could do so much for the world and was doing so much to guide people spiritually and according to their duties within the state, was wrongly cursed. And because of that, he left his position and accepted the curse as the arrangement of the Supreme Lord. But he understood, now here's a chance to fulfill my need to go back home, back to Godhead. And so he took that curse as an opportunity to become what we say fully Krishna conscious and leave the body in that consciousness. And so therefore we have what is a very kind of, I could say it, it's a very, you look at it from different angles of view, you'll see you have the king, you have the Grish, you have the boy, you have the Lord's arrangement also. All of that is kind of like thrown together into this pastime here of Maharaj Parikshit, ultimately sitting down at the banks of the Jamuna River and hearing from Sukadev Goswami the glories. And that was the benefit that came out of all of this, that now the world had a recipient where that knowledge could be spoken in such a way that it was now a way to teach Srimad Bhagavatam to the entire world, not only the world, but the universe itself. And so, in one sense, we see the glories of how Krishna uses his devotees to bring about a higher realization for people in general. But the damage is done where now the Brahminical culture has no influence, and whatever influence they do have, they use it for personal gain. And it's unfortunate. So the whole Varnashram system, the four Varnas, are topsy-turvy. People take a position not because of qualifications. Position is based on qualification, not on some nepotistic arrangement or based on some family lineage. or based on some over-intelligent people who know how to manipulate situations to get personal gain and position. And that's what we have today. Therefore, when Prabhupada first began his Krishna conscious movement, he said, we cannot establish this Varnashram Dharma because the society is too topsy-turvy. It's so, where do we start? There's nowhere to start. People are not accepting education, and it requires education. But then in 1974, Prabhupada had a change. Seeing that devotees in Krishna consciousness were falling down, even though they were chanting Hare Krishna, he understood the need for training devotees in various types of varnas, and then using that training and that service to spread Krishna consciousness and to engage people accordingly. And then Prabhupada began the whole process of speaking very strongly and very directly about Daivi Varnashram, spiritual Varnashram, engaging people according to their propensities and bringing out their propensities through a process of systematic education given by those within the society who have been classified as remitted. And that was Prabhupada's vision for the development of the whole world, not just for the whole society. And unfortunately, it hasn't really manifested to the degree it should have manifested, at least in this time. That was more than 50 years ago when these ideas, or actually about 50 years ago when these ideas were given as a direction for our society, Varnashram, college, training, education, evaluation, and then based on evaluation, implementing people in, engaging people in their particular service. And one who works accordingly can do wonderful service like that. When one works according to their nature, of course, people might argue, well, in Krishna consciousness, we transcend our material nature and we come to the spiritual platform, which is above the material calculations or evaluations. Yes, that is true, but to get to that stage, which is the higher stage of Krishna conscious practice, one has to work in such a way as they develop that mood of devotion where they can elevate their consciousness beyond the three modes of material nature. And therefore, Prabhupada established this idea of Varnashram College, which has some activity today in our society, but very, very little, hardly any. But hopefully, when things become more and more critical in the world, the devotees will become more and more aware of the need for engaging accordingly, and that's what satisfies both Krishna, as Krishna says, one who works according to their varna and serves me in that way. Vanashramana charyata purusham param Vishnu arati panta tatu kosha sankaranam. I can't remember the whole Sanskrit, but this verse was spoken by Lord Shiva, and it's mentioned by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and also Prabhupada in his lectures. How by engaging by Varna and Ashram and offering service that way, it pleases the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nanu tosha. Tosha means to please, or an activity that is pleasing. So we want to please the Lord. That is the process of devotional service. Please the Lord means to follow the instructions of the spiritual master who is guiding the disciple towards the activities which one can engage in to please the Lord. And this Daivi Varnashram is one of the more essential programs for engaging and developing the whole society based on these four varnas. When the devotees are working according to Brahminical qualities, Kshatriya training, Vaishya characteristics, and Sudra abilities, then the whole society is actually, the social function is achieved, and the spiritual activities are developed in a very powerful and direct way. Nowadays, we have devotees, they don't know how to serve. They choose whatever they want to serve, or sometimes they don't accept service based on what they like or what they don't like. And even if given service, many times they can't engage because there is no desire, and they're more inclined to something different, something else. But that's not what Prabhupada wanted. He wanted this evaluation, education and evaluation and engagement in devotional service accordingly. And then great service is done. When great service is done, everyone benefits worldwide, not only the devotees, but even the world in general gets the mercy of the Lord through the engagement of the devotees in pure devotional service. Those are some points that are somewhat planning within the society to develop Krishna consciousness. And here we see how when things go haywire, everything is lost. The Brahmins are no longer able to do anything. They lose their influence. And because they lose their influence, they're not accepted anymore within that position. And then they try to readjust and do things that are outside of their proper varna or proper activities. And therefore, they become like merchants in order to engage their activities as a way to support their personal needs like that. Okay, so this is Kali Yuga. Therefore, the only solution is Harinam Sankirtan, to engage the devotees in chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, to spread the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra everywhere, to organize programs to attract the conditioned souls to chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and to glorify the Maha Mantra in all of the activities that we perform. This is the foundation by which everything will somehow come back to the spiritual platform. Although Varnashram is not ideally in place, when one is chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and becomes purified with that, then they can somehow, what we say, transcend their material disqualifications and come to the spiritual platform. And engage others in the same way. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj, for such a powerful and enlightening class, especially on how we can engage ourselves in any Avarna or ashram we are to serve the Lord with our best ability. Thank you so much. Devotees, if you have any questions, comments, realizations, please unmute yourself and ask. It will be nice to have your cameras on if you can. And if you can't speak, you can type in the chat box and I can read your questions for you. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Yes, Devi Mataji, please go ahead.
In establishing, please accept my humble obeisances, Gurudev. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. In establishing a well-organized Brahminical society, first we must accept that the Brahmins should lead. If we are constantly, trying to position ourselves, regardless of whether we are qualified or not, then the whole system again becomes vitiated, because those who are not qualified want to be leaders. And this is again symptom of Kali Yuga. So how can we establish that this is the qualification, these are the requirements for leading society, that these are the Brahmins How do we make those distinctions? Because everybody says, I've read scripture, I'm giving class, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, like that. And everybody can claim anything. Today it's like that. So if you will kindly enlighten us on this point. Thank you.
Prabhupada had the whole thing planned out, and you can hear it on a morning walk conversation, March 14th, 1974, in Vrindavan. And this discussion is going on with all of these different considerations. But he's talked about Varnashram College. He said, without Varnashram College, which is the system of education for the Varnas, there you cannot establish people in the position properly. So then one will have to graduate from that college accordingly, become evaluated by the teachers who are Brahminically inclined, and then engaged in that way. So that certificate or that accreditation that comes through the educational system will allow people who are qualified to take positions within the Varnashram system. Training for Kshatriyas, training for Vaishyas, training for Brahmins.
Thank you very much.
Education, not just training, but education also. Spiritual education and training within the activities of a particular type of service, how to do the service. Just like in Mayapur now, we have what is called Mayapur, what is it called? Academy, the Mayapur Academy. So Mayapur Academy, every year from October to March for 6 months, they train devotees in deity worship and in cooking, which is also deity worship. And so devotees sign up for the courses and go through the classes, and they're given both spiritual education and they're also given practical training in these different services. How to do pujari work, how to cook, all of these things. And it's a thing that's been going on for at least 8 years now. And devotees should be aware. Take time, take a few months out of the year, go to Mayapur and train. And every year they have a graduation and certificates are given. And then those certificates allow them to come back to their local areas and take up the services like that. So then Mayapur Academy is one thing that is being done. Teachers are there. The system is there. But it's only done in, as far as I know, it's only done in Mayapur. It could be done in different places around the world. So people don't have to simply depend on Mayapur for all of the training, and that may not be practical for some people. But there has to be that educational system.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Thanks, Shri Devi Mataji. Any other questions, devotees? Okay, by the time I can ask my question. So Guru Maharaj, looking at the Parikshit Maharaj's past time, I always think that such atrocities was happening with with Pandavas, with Kunti Maharani, with Draupadi, and Parikshit Maharaj was actually cursed to leave the body in 7 days, and it all happened at that time when Krishna was present, and I know so many different things might be happening currently as well, but not with the devotees as we have seen. And devotees are kind of, even though we are in Kali Yuga, but the time is not as bad as it was at that time for the pure devotees of the Lord. So why is it, even if small issues we have in our life, why we don't have a little surrender, a little faith in Lord at that time when what had happened with Draupadi and Kunti and Parikshit Maharaj, they were so surrendered after even so many of problems in their life. Even small issues, small health issues, or any family issues, why we can't handle or deal with it. A small stress, anxieties and everything. Why is it the effect of Kali Yuga? Or what
Manda,
is
yeah, Manda, Alprayena Sabya Kalo Yasmin Jigay Janaha. Manda Sumanda Matayo Manya Bhagya Bhagataha. But I also want to clarify something you said. Maharaj Kali could not enter when Krishna was on the planet. Krishna had already left. So when this incident happened after Krishna left the planet. So yeah, in this age, people are not qualified. They're somewhat affected by what we say lower qualities. What is the direction of the world in general? Economic development. Everything is based on material gain. Your success is seen by how much you are positioned by material gain, your wealth, your position in society as an entrepreneur or as a leader within the corporate world. You don't hear the glories of people who are saintly talked about in the world today because that's not considered to be important or even necessary. So we glorify people who are hogs, dogs, camels, and asses, as Prabhupada says in the Bhagavatam. One dog is barking about the glories of another dog who is a bigger dog. So this is today's world. I mean, I'm just repeating what Srila Prabhupada said. I'm not making up anything. But you can look around and you see everything is based on material success. The more money you have, the more popular you are within the world. The more money you have, the more you can do things. Everything is based on money. It's not based on personal qualifications. Maybe you could be the lowest of the low, but if you have money, you're considered to be, successful and looked up to in society. Doesn't matter what your character is. You can be dog number one, but still, if you've got money. Money is not a foundation for success. Money, or we might say wealth, can be used to facilitate certain needs in society, but it doesn't give one any prestige. If you compare a rich man with a knowledgeable man is more important than a rich man. The knowledgeable man can give his knowledge everywhere to the world, and the rich man is limiting his activities to where he is generally, or maybe a little beyond. But wealth is not success. We see people who have wealth, even their lives are somewhat fraught with various types of suffering and miseries. Success is character, values, spiritual principles, human characteristics, the modes of goodness. These are successful ways to indicate people who are respectable in the sense that they live according to values, spiritual principles, religious principles, moral qualities. But therefore, the age of Kali is the upside down. Those who can speak the loudest, they get all of the attention. Those who have the money, they can put themselves in the position to be able to reach so many more people with their loud speaking. But this is Kali Yuga. Manda Sumanda Matpyo. Everything is upside down. Values, everything.
so how do we build the faith, Guru Maharaj, in this condition? Then it's having that strong faith and surrender.
Yeah, you just have to spread Krishna consciousness. People who become Krishna conscious, they They rise above all of these bad qualities and develop good qualities, and then become what we say, an asset not only for themselves, but for the benefit of others. Devotee helps everyone simply by their devotional service. They are the well-wisher. They're not interested so much in gaining, they're interested in giving spiritual knowledge, service opportunities to people in general. Krishna is the center of all existence, and to center our lives around him means to make progress in all areas of life. So the answer is Krishna consciousness. That's the answer. And the essence of Krishna consciousness is to spread the glories of the holy name and develop this spiritual Varnashram, which Srila Prabhupada very much wanted, as a social basis for our execution of devotional service.
It's very profound.
All the instructions are there, even how to carry out the instructions are also there. But generally, even within the devotee society, we're so much plugged into the Western way of life. And we depend on that, and we think that that is fine, it's okay. To have a big house, to have a lot of material things, to have a job, and to somehow live in that atmosphere. And chant Hare Krishna once in a while. I usually don't have time because I got so many things going on in my life. I have to have a job. Prabhupada didn't want us to work for the material society. He didn't want that. And that was just a temporary thing that was there in the very beginning. He wanted us to move and become fully engaged in activities of devotional service, even organizing our own means of livelihood through Krishna consciousness and not based on the Western society. But we don't follow Prabhupada. Or we can't follow Prabhupada. We see reasons not to follow. And so therefore basically it's the fault of the leaders who are not directing devotees in that direction. More so. It's being done to some degree. There are many leaders who are preaching like that and also facilitating that. But when you look at it in proportion to the amount of devotees around the world, we still, are, eating food produced by, people who are raping the land full of chemicals and all kinds of pesticides, herbicides. We have sprays in our house that are destroying the atmosphere. we have all of the amenities that society gives us, and we think, I'm a devotee. We use paper plates, wasting, rather than wooden or metal plates, which are easily available. Styrofoam, another thing that pollutes the environment. Plastic bottles, everything is plastic. Plastic has become a major problem in the world now. How to recycle and get rid of all of the plastic bottles. They have to dig these big gigantic holes to throw everything in it. And it doesn't break down. Plastic has a very long, what we say, what is that called? Life cycle. It takes hundreds of years for plastic to disintegrate. But if you go to Govardhan Eco Village, they have a system of how to recycle plastic. It's a system that's been developed by a few intelligent people. How to take plastic we're all very much engaged in supporting the same society that is killing everybody. And that's a problem. We say, well, I chant Hare Krishna, I go to the temple, I read the books, I'm doing everything. Yeah, but your lifestyle is contrary to your spiritual practice, actually. At the same time. So that's for the families. The preachers, they could travel and preach and go here and there and just use whatever is available and preach Krishna consciousness. But for families, they need a stable environment where they can raise their families in the proper way, according to spiritual and sound material principles. You get a job, what do you get a job for? So you can somehow or other plug into this society and further the propaganda of the materialistic society. What is the use? We speak, well, we live one way and we act in another way. So Prabhupada didn't want that. He knew that, society would become more and more difficult to maintain our livelihood based on the Western society, based on the crumbling and deterioration of the society. And he foresaw, Prabhupada was a visionary. He foresaw that unless we go back to a natural lifestyle, we are going to be victimized even more by this, but as he said, this soul-killing society. He didn't give any credit to this society. He said all of the problems have come within the last 300 years because of the scientists. The scientists are always coming up with ideas on how to manufacture things to sell people which are not beneficial for people, and at the same time try to sell these products so they can make more and more material gain from these products. What do you need to live? You don't need much. The most important thing you need to live is community, our devotees, association with our devotees, and the activities that devotees take up. That is the platform of happiness and progress in spiritual life. Our material needs can facilitate our lifestyle to a certain point, but not in such a way that we put our material responsibilities and needs first and our Krishna consciousness somewhere on the sideline. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. That was a very nice and profound answer, Guru Maharaj. Thank you so much. Very helpful.
Sorry if I'm stepping on a few toes there, but
No.
we have to hear, because Srila Prabhupada was sent by Krishna. He came from the spiritual world to do this work. He wasn't simply some person who came up with some good ideas and was lucky. He was in what we say Shaktivesh avatar, who came to do the work of spreading the Vedic culture worldwide, based on glorification of the Lord as the most advanced form of spiritual practice. You study our books, you can't find anything like this anywhere in the world. Everything is there within the Vedas. And Krishna says he is the author of the Vedas. And he also says, I'm the goal of the Vedas also.
Yeah. Thanks, Guru Maharaj. Devotees, any other questions, comments, realizations? Yes, Devi Mataji, please go ahead again. Yeah.
As you were speaking, Guru Maharaj, I'm remembering Srila Prabhupada's lecture where he said, even if few people all over the world become Krishna conscious, the whole world will become Vaikuntha and there will be no more problems.
Yeah, he said if we can get 10% of the population.
Yes, that's right. 10%. Even 10% of the population becomes Krishna conscious. Whole world will become Vaikuntha and there will be no more problems.
They can influence the rest of the world. The world as it is today, people are starting to realize, the general mass of people are starting to see how their life is falling apart around them with various types of scarcity, high inflation, crime, war. it's everywhere now. It's not just localized in a few places. It's practically spreading everywhere. Governments who have leaders who don't know how to lead. Just like, I'll give you an example in Croatia. In the last 3 or 4 years, more than 100,000 people have migrated out of Croatia. They've left that place because the governments are so bad there. People were saying, we'll give you our house if you give us a plane ticket to this place. They were giving their house away. Still going on. So that's one country that, pretty sad shape, at least politically. Environmentally, it's pretty good. Politically, it's one of the worst places in the world.
Devi Mataji, you want to say something?
I would like to share, Guru Maharaj, as I was traveling through and coming back in Germany, there was a layover, and just this German attendant who was there, he started talking to me and he said, "Oh, this world, this is not a nice place. Here there's lying, cheating, it's dirty, and look at what the governments are doing. This vaccine was everything that we have talked about in the lectures." Just this ordinary man was saying those things back to me. And I was like, the ordinary people know everything. They know everything, what the government is up to, what the taxes are all about, how cheating is going on. He said, we are spoiling the earth. The waters are bad, the food is bad, everything is bad, and plastic everywhere, and everything that devotees talk about. This simple German attendant, who was helping me move my luggage, he was just talking like that. And he said, only Jesus is the answer. Of course, at least he's pious enough to believe, and be a believer. I gave him some prashadam and I said, brother, keep up your faith in God. That's the only thing that will save the world.
Yeah, but he's just one of many. Others are looking for, ways to get around all of this. Some of them are actually going back to the land. There's a big movement back to the land now, much bigger than what our society amongst the non-devotees. The only problem is many of them don't have any center for their organization. Their center is simply their ideal for a better lifestyle. As long as people have material desires, there'll always be conflicts. Therefore, only devotees can do it because they keep their focus on Krishna and keep Krishna as the center of all of the activities and work in that way. That way we get beyond our individual interests and our differences of opinion and keep the spiritual principles and direction given by the Lord and his pure devotee as the focus of our activities. The only thing we have to learn is how to do these things materially.
So one question again, I have Guru Maharaj on the Varna Ashram, as I always get confused because I was just looking at the modules we are covering in Bhakti Vriksha, and in the second module of it talks about Bhakti Vriksha, that in Tattvavadis they mention that by just following the Varnashram dharma we can achieve the different types of liberation. However, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentioned that it's not required because you can achieve the Krishna. You will not be able to achieve the Krishna Prem. So how does it differentiate between? And this is where I'm getting really confused. That what is the difference if you follow Varnashram properly, is in Krishna consciousness, then liberation is definitely is there, but the ultimate aim is to achieve the love of Godhead.
Well, yeah, it's Daivi Varnashram. It's not Varnashram. There are 3 or 4 different ways that Varnashram can be explained and played out. I mean, There's material varnashram, there's the perverted caste system. All of these are somewhat symptomatic of a varnashram system, but the real varnashram is Daivi varnashram, spiritual varnashram. You work, you train, you learn a particular skill, you get placed according to that skill in a particular service, and you serve that way the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's service. It's not simply Varna. It's Daivi Varna, Daivi Varnashram. Not material Varnashram.
Okay, okay, makes sense. So maybe I think in that particular paragraph, in that verse, which is, I think, explanation from Prahlad Maharaj to that, in that particular verse, Prabhupada has mentioned about the Tattvadis, and I think what Tattvadis must be mentioning is that material Varnashram. And Devi Varnashram I've never heard of, but that's, thank you. It's good to know.
Yeah, that's otherwise material Varnashram is how human society goes on in a progressive way, but it cannot be implemented because everything is so upside down. Now that's why Prabhupada rejected it, but he didn't reject the training and education, evaluation, and engagement for devotees in devotional service. We say, well, I can just do any service. Yeah, that's nice. You can do any service. That's appreciated, and at least up to a certain point. But how long will you last in that service? When you actually work according to your training and evaluation in nature, you actually contribute way beyond the service. You become very creative. You become very, very absorbed in developing that service more and more, and then things become ideal. We have expert preachers, we have expert cooks, we have expert pujaris, we have expert devotees doing services in an expert way. And they're all motivated by, by service, not by simply the expertise. You get a bunch of pujaris together who are inclined to, when we say control, and they all fight on how to do the deity worship, I'm saying that because I know a situation that's like that. And usually the only way they ameliorate the situation is that some of them quit and give up on the idea. And the most vocal stay there and turn out to be the leaders.
Thank you. Thanks, Maharaj. Devotees, any other questions? Anything? Any realizations on the part on the verse?
Hare Krishna, Gurudev, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj, just a question on service. As we're developing our taste for our service, and as you said, trying to perfect it for Krishna, I feel sometimes I get excited, and I try to wrestle in some of my peers and some youth, and then, when I find some services are shorthanded, I'll run myself thin doing, more than I should. So Maharaj, how do we help, our brothers and our sisters stay fixed in service, and how can we use our examples in service to help inspire them and keep them, fixed in their service?
Well, you answered the question. Be ideal in your own service and inspire others by example. But it takes leadership to engage people accordingly. So that has to come from the administration, the kshatriyas. Their duty is to engage people accordingly and move people around according to how best they can be engaged. And you, as a component in that whole process, you inspire others by your own example. you exhibit the qualities not only of the service, but of a devotee. You're kind, you take time to help others, you guide others, you can preach, you not preach, but you inspire others by your words and by your services. Everyone has influence, and the more you are ideal in the execution of your devotional service, the more that influence spreads out to everyone. A person who is lazy, who doesn't do anything, is also influential in the wrong way. Although they may not even speak about anything, because the fact that they're lazy and they're part of a group, then that laziness also pulls the rest of the group down also, to some degree. Those who are critical, those who are lazy, those who are, irregular, they have influence too. Those who are expert, those who are kind, those who are practicing their sadhana nicely, everyone has influence. Some have more influence than others, but everyone has influence. Be the ideal example. Learn the service, do it in the best possible way, and keep friendly relationships with others.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj. There's, like you said, a lot of devotees here in Philadelphia, seniors that I have here to, look up and see the services they perform. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Hare Krishna.
I think, is there any other last minute question? Otherwise, we can close the call. No. We can close the call, Maharaj. Thank you so much. Jai Shila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Yeah, one round.
One round, yes, Maharaj. Yes, let me bring my breath back.
Okay. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinda. Chant clearly, sound the name very clearly, and hear in the same way. Pray to Lord Chaitanya, pray to your spiritual master, pray to Prabhupada for his mercy so you can approach the holy name in the right mood. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Rama Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama Rama Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. 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 Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama. Jai Shri Krishna, Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivasadi Gaur, Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama.
Thank you very much for today's class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for your time, Maharaj.
Haribo.
Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
To all the devotees, and we'll see you tomorrow for the next verse.
Thank you very much, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hello.